Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're really getting into the weeds with Canon's mirrorless lineup. Specifically, we're looking at the EO R6, which, really made waves back in 2020, and then its successor, the R6 Mark II, which landed in late 2022. Our goal here isn't just reading off specs. It's about cutting through all that and figuring out what Canon actually did in those 2 years, and more importantly, what those changes mean for you if you're trying to pick between them or maybe thinking about an upgrade. We want to nail down the real differences and the value.
Yeah, exactly. In this comparison, the R6 versus the Mark II, it's a great one because these cameras hit that sweet spot. They're aimed at, serious enthusiasts, maybe some pros, people needing solid performance for both photos and video. That gap, about 28 months, wasn't just minor tweaks. Canon had definitely used that time to refine things, making the Mark II a much more versatile hybrid camera. Speed and video were clearly big focuses.
Okay, right. Let's unpack this then. Maybe start with the basics. What's the common ground? Because before we dive into the upgrades, it's worth remembering they both come from a really strong starting point. Physically, they look pretty much identical, don't they?
They really do. Side by side, you'd be hard-pressed to tell them apart immediately. Same dimensions, 138 by 90 by 88 millimeters. And the weight is almost identical too, around 680 grams with the battery in. And crucially, they both use that same Canon RF lens mount, so your lens investment is safe either way.
That's a huge plus, access to all that great RF glass.
Absolutely. And that shared foundation runs deep. Whichever one you pick, you're getting a full-frame CMO sensor powered by Canon's DIGS-X processor. So the core image processing, the fundamental quality potential, it's there in both. The native ISO range is also identical and frankly enormous, 100 up to 102,400.
Yeah.
Expandable way beyond that if you need it, though obviously image quality degrades.
And stabilization is a big part of the R series story. That's the same too.
Yep, that's consistent. Both have that excellent sensor shift image stabilization. Canon claims up to 8 stops of correction when you pair it with certain stabilized RF lenses.
8 stops. Just pause on that. What does that actually let you do?
It means you can handhold shots in ridiculously low light. Seriously. Conditions where a few years back you'd absolutely need a tripod. Think dimly lit interiors, twilight landscapes. It opens up possibilities.
Okay, and looking at the back, the screens, the viewfinder?
Identical again, same 3-inch, fully articulating touchscreen, about 1.62 million dots. Really useful for high or low angles or vlogging.
Yeah.
And the electronic viewfinder, the EVF, is also the same. A sharp 3.69 million dot panel. Gives you a really clear view of your scene.
Good stuff. What about the more practical professional features? Storage, ports, durability?
All match there too. Both have Wi-Fi and Bluetooth built in. You get dual UHS 2 card slots, so you can set them up for instant backup or maybe JPEGs to one, RAWs to the other, or just overflow.
Sure.
Flexible. And you've got your essential ports, microphone input, headphone output. Plus, they both have that anti-dust shutter mechanism that closes when the camera's off, helps keep the sensor clean, and decent environmental sealing for weather resistance. They're built tough.
Right, but the autofocus, that's always been a Canon strength. How similar are they there? Because that's often where you see generational jumps.
It's interesting, actually. The core system, Canon's dual-pixel CMOS AF2, is present and excellent in both. You get RAW support, fantastic tracking for faces, eyes, even animals and vehicles. But the really key spec here, and it is shared, is the low light sensitivity. Both are rated down to EV-Nash 6.5.
EV-Nash 6.5. Let's translate that. For someone listening, what does that feel like in the real world?
It means the camera can lock focus in conditions where you can barely see, like seriously dark. Moonlight, a very dimly lit room. The camera can often find focus better than your own eyes can in that kind of light. It's pretty remarkable, and a big reason the original R6 is still so capable.
Okay, so that establishes a really high baseline of shared excellence. But given that 28-month gap, Canon must have pushed things forward with the Mark II. Where did they really invest that development time? This is where it gets interesting, right?
Yeah, this is where the separation happens, and it really boils down to, I'd say, 2 main areas. Speed and hybrid shooting, particularly video. First off, resolution. The Mark II gets a bump from 20 megapixels on the R6 up to 24 megapixels.
Okay, 20 to 24. That's about a 19% increase. Is that a huge deal in practice?
It's noticeable. It gives you more breathing room for cropping your images later without losing too much detail. If you like to reframe in post or if you make large prints, that extra resolution is definitely welcome.
Makes sense. But you mentioned speed. That seems like a bigger story here.
Oh, absolutely. The mechanical shutter speed is the same on both a respectable 12 frames per second, but the electronic shutter. That's where the Mark II just blows the R6 away.
How much faster?
Double. The original R6 could do 20 frames per second with its electronic shutter. The Mark II cranks that up to 40 frames per second.
40. Wow. Okay, who needs that kind of speed?
Sports photographers, wildlife photographers, anyone shooting really fast, unpredictable action. At 40 fps, you're capturing so many more micro moments within a single second. It dramatically increases your chances of getting the shot, that perfect split second. And it's not just the burst rate. The Mark II's maximum electronic shutter speed also doubled, from 18 thousandths of a second up to 116 thousandths.
Which helps how? Freezing really fast motion.
Exactly. Or shooting with very wide aperture lenses in bright sunlight without needing an ND filter. Gives you more control.
Okay, that speed increase is significant. And you said video was the other big area. It seems like the Mark II addresses a lot of the R6's video limitations.
It really does. If you shoot video regularly, the Mark II is a much, much stronger proposition. Let's start with recording limits. The R6 had that sometimes annoying 30-minute limit per clip due to potential overheating, though firmware helped a bit. The R6 Mark II, effectively unlimited recording time thanks to better heat management.
No, how big a deal is that unlimited recording? Is the 30-min limit really a problem for most people, or just filmmakers doing long takes?
I'd say it's relevant for more people than you might think. Think about recording wedding ceremonies, interviews, presentations, even just longer YouTube videos or streaming. Having to constantly check and restart recordings is a pain. Hitting that limit right at a crucial moment, that's a workflow killer. Unlimited just gives you peace of mind. Set it and forget it.
Okay, fair point. What about the actual video quality, like 4K recording?
Another win for the Mark II. When you shoot 4K at 60 frames per second, the Mark II uses the full width of the sensor, no crop. The original R6 applied a slight 1.07x crop in 4K 60p.
So that 1.07x crop, it basically punches in a little bit, makes your lens feel slightly tighter.
Precisely. If you put a wide-angle lens on, say, a 24mm, that crop makes it behave more like a 26mm lens. It might not sound like much, but it changes your field of view. The Mark II gives you the true perspective of your lens, which is especially important for wide shots or interiors.
And other video upgrades. I heard something about raw video.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a big one for serious video work. The Mark II can output raw video externally to an Atomos recorder. The R6 couldn't do that at all. Raw video gives you vastly more flexibility in post-production for things like color grading and recovering detail and highlights and shadows.
And slow motion.
Mark II goes faster there, too. It can shoot full HD up to 180 frames per second. The R6 topped out at 125p's. So smoother, super slow motion effects are possible.
Like a
couple of nice quality of life things on the Mark II. A dedicated switch to go between photo and video modes instantly. No menu diving.
Oh, that's handy.
Yeah, it also has lens breathing correction for compatible lenses.
Lens breathing. Okay, explain that. What problem does that solve?
So when you change focus on mini lenses, especially when going from something close to something far away, the angle of view can slightly change. It looks like the image is zooming in or out a tiny bit as you focus. That's breathing. The correction feature digitally compensates for that, making your focus pulls look much smoother and more professional, less distracting.
Got it. Okay, that's a lot on the video front. What about something more basic, like battery life?
Huge difference there, too. And this affects everyone, not just video shooters. The R6 Mark II has a much better SEPA rating. That's the standard industry test. It's rated for 580 shots per charge. The original R6, only 360 shots.
Wow, 360 versus 580. That's over 200 more shots per battery. That's significant for a day shooting.
It really is. It means you're much less likely to need to carry multiple spare batteries with the Mark II. It makes it a much more practical camera for travel or long event days. Big quality of life improvement.
And any other clever features baked into the Mark II?
Yeah, a couple worth mentioning. It has in-camera focus stacking,
which lets you
get greater depth of field, especially for macro or product shots. It takes a series of photos at different focus points and merges them in camera into one image where more is sharp. Used to be a fiddly computer process. And it also has that multifunction hot shoe allowing for more advanced digital accessories like certain microphones without needing extra cables.
Okay, that's a pretty compelling list of upgrades for the Mark II. Speed, video, battery, extra features. But hang on, let's pause. Is there anything where the original R6 might actually have a slight edge, maybe on paper, especially for pure stills photographers, if we're being really critical?
That's a good question. And yeah, if you dig into the specs, there are a couple of nuanced points where the R6 technically looks better, though the real-world impact is debatable.
Like what?
Okay, focus points. The original R6 actually boasts more selectable autofocus points than the Mark II. It has 672 points, whereas the Mark II has 497. That's over 1,100 more points on the R6.
Right. But does having more points actually matter much anymore with how good tracking AF has become? Does it give you a practical advantage?
For most people, probably not. The tracking algorithms are so sophisticated now, they just find the subject. You're not usually manually selecting tiny points anymore. However, maybe, just maybe, if you're doing very precise work in a complex scene, like intricate macro photography, where you need to place the focus exactly on one tiny spot, having those extra points might offer slightly finer control. It's a bit niche, though.
Okay, interesting. What else? There was talk about pixel size and low light, wasn't there?
Yes, that's the other potential R6 advantage. Because it has fewer pixels spread across the same full-frame sensor area, each individual pixel on the R6 is physically larger than those on the Mark II.
Fewer pixels, but bigger pixels.
Exactly. The R6's pixel area is about 43 square micrometers versus 36 for the Mark II. That's roughly a 19% difference in size. Think of them like light buckets. The R6 has slightly larger buckets.
And bigger buckets catch more light, right? So theoretically, better low light performance.
Theoretically, yes. Larger pixels are generally more efficient at gathering light, which can translate to slightly less noise, especially when you really push the ISO super high, like ISO 50,000 or above. So even though the Mark II has more resolution overall, if your absolute priority is squeezing the cleanest possible image out of extremely dark conditions for stills, the R6 might, on paper, have a marginal edge there. But processing tech in the Mark II likely compensates quite a bit.
That's fascinating. So it's not entirely a one-way street, even if the Mark II has the headline features. Okay, let's try and bring this together. How do these specs translate into performance for different kinds of photography? We looked at some scores.
Right. Based on the specs and features, both cameras excel in fast-paced genres. For street photography, they both score an incredibly high 97%. That combination of size, great AF, and silent shooting is perfect. For sports, they both get a 90%. Really strong performers.
Although we should probably add a mental note there, right? Even with the same score, that 40 fps on the Mark II gives it a practical edge in sports over the R6's 20ps for capturing the peak moment.
Absolutely. The score reflects capability, but the burst rate gives the Mark II a higher probability of success in practice. For portrait photography, they also score identically at 76%. Both are great tools with good resolution, reliable IAF, and stabilization. Where the Mark II nudges ahead slightly in the scores is daily photography gets an 88% versus the R6's 85%.
And is that mostly down to the better battery life we talked about?
I think that's a huge part of it, yeah. That extra 220 shots makes it more convenient for just carrying around all day. Plus maybe those little things like the dedicated photo-video switch add up to a slightly smoother everyday experience.
Okay. But interestingly, neither camera scores super high for landscape photography. The R6 II gets 50%, the R6 gets 46%. Why so low for such capable cameras?
It's mainly because dedicated landscape shooters often prioritize different things. They typically want very high resolution, think 40, 50, 60 megapixels or more for maximum detail in prints. And features like built-in GPS for tagging locations are often desirable. Since both R6 models are in the 20-24 MP range and lack GPS, they get marked down compared to cameras specifically optimized for landscape work. It doesn't mean they can't take great landscapes, just that they aren't specialized for it.
Gotcha. And just briefly, the lens system, no difference there, right? Both use the RF mount.
Correct. Full access to the growing Canon RF lens lineup. As of now, something like 90 native lenses available, with about 67 of those designed for full frame. So plenty of choice, whichever body you pick.
Okay, so we've covered the shared strengths, the Mark II's big leaps in speed and video, and the R6's subtle points like pixel size. Let's get to the bottom line, the verdict, factoring in cost.
All right. So based purely on capability, the R6 Mark II scored higher overall 84 compared to the R6's 77. It's undeniably the more versatile, more powerful hybrid camera. If you need that top-tier video performance, the extreme burst speed, or simply want the best battery life, the Mark II is the clear winner for most people looking today.
But then there's the price. Let's look at where things stand now, say late 2025. A new R6 Mark II is running about, what, $2,099?
Around that, yeah. But the original R6, because it's been out longer and you can find great renewed or used deals, is significantly cheaper. You can probably pick one up for around $1,800.
So about a $300 difference. That's not insignificant.
Not at all. And it makes the original R6 arguably one of the best value full-frame cameras on the market right now, especially if your main focus is stills photography. You're still getting fantastic image quality, incredible autofocus, that amazing stabilization, great build. It's a phenomenal stills camera for the money.
Yeah.
But if those Mark II advantages and the unlimited 4K 60p video, the 40 fps bursts, the extra battery life, if those are features you'll use regularly, then that extra $300 for the Mark II is probably well justified.
It really comes down to prioritizing need versus budget.
Precisely. It's about mapping those specific upgrades to your own shoot style. And actually, there's one more feature on the Mark II we touched on briefly that I think deserves a final thought, especially regarding that speed. It's the pre-shooting buffer feature.
Right, the thing that starts recording before you press the button.
Exactly. It continuously buffers a short duration of images, like half a second, while you half press the shutter button. When you fully press it, it saves those buffered images along with the ones you took after. It essentially gives you a time machine for capturing unpredictable moments.
Milliseconds of foresight built in.
Yeah. Think about capturing the exact moment a bird takes flight from a branch, or a lightning strike, or maybe the peak expression in a candid portrait, things that happen too fast for human reaction time. That pre-shooting buffer can be the difference between getting the shot and completely missing it. It fundamentally changes how you approach capturing those fleeting moments.
So, the final question for you, the listener, might be, how valuable is that fraction of a second safety net for the kind of photos you want to take? Weigh that against the $300 or so price difference. That calculation foresight versus savings might just be the final piece of the puzzle in choosing between these two truly excellent Canon cameras. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.